Okay, roots. Well, Sherman and Irene Shepherd are my parents, and I forgot everything now after that. No, they were down in, I have to get my map right, northeast and Oklahoma and southwest Missouri, all around in there as they were growing up, and I don't know exactly how much of that growing up, but anyway, that's where they met, and they came together. And they were married in June 5th of 1938 in Joplin, Missouri. Polly, my sister, okay, Paula, she's always been Polly to me, was born in 1942, and her birthday is just on Tuesday, May 28th. And John, my brother, was born in June of 1942. And, okay, I came along in June of 1950. Yes, okay, I've got something to say about that. Because people had that reaction quite often, and Mom did not take it kindly. In fact, she actually verbally flayed a couple of people because the thinking that, oh, an accident or this or that, and she's going, not my children. My children were all planned. A little short thing there, though. This was right at the end of World War II. Dad was in the Navy just at the very end of World War II. And in fact, he never left the country. And my sister also had rheumatic fever a couple of years during that time. So it's not working. So,
Well, that might be part of the reason.
well, Dale just handed it to me.
Yeah.
So,
Well, try it again.
no,
Try it again. That's a bad one.
he throws them on the ground when he's done. Just,
Don't turn it off. You'll get that.
well,
Back to you.
I'm trying to turn it on. It did that when I turned it on. Okay?
It should not.
Now, back
Yes,
to the
perfect.
drawing board.
Perfect. Very good, good.
So anyway, yes, I was born in Caney, Kansas in 1950. We were there, I would say, I know that we were there for 3 years because I do have a picture of me and the whole crowd, and it's labeled on it, the date. That's when we used to do that sort of stuff. But shortly after that, we moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Dad was a teacher, and he taught in Caney to begin with. Then he was asked, I'm pretty sure, to come to Tulsa to teach in Thomas Edison High School there.
What did he teach?
Science. I don't know specifically, he taught all sciences, but right then at that time, science, whatever. Okay, so we moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I went to fifth, no, I was thinking 5 years old. Kindergarten, first and second grade, there at Alice Robertson School in Tulsa. That time, and this must have been roughly 57, Thomas Dunnigan, who was the principal of Oak Ridge High School in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, came to see Dad to talk him into going to Oak Ridge. And so to teach physics specifically. And so the day before my 8th birthday, we arrived in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. We were at this lovely hotel. I had to look it up. It was kind of hard to find because I couldn't remember the name of it. The Alexandria Hotel, which I understand now is a national something or other site. because it was built during the time of Manhattan Project, which all of Oak Ridge was built during that time. Anyway, so we got there, and I had a very lovely birthday. I thought it was lovely. Mom thought I was not getting very much of a party, but I had fun. I didn't care. Out on the porch of the Alexandria Hotel, because it was this big veranda porch, and birthday cake, and a couple of presents, and what's not to like, you know? So, we lived in Oak Ridge proper for a couple of months of the summer. I don't know how long it was. You know, when you're a kid, the time just does not function. But they bought a house out in the country, outside of Oak Ridge, and it was called the Claxton Community. And I went to school there from 3rd grade to the Claxton School, from 3rd grade through 7th grade. My brother was a junior, I want to say, and he went to Clinton High School, Clinton, Tennessee. It wasn't that far away. And apparently we were in that school district. I don't know. My sister had already graduated from Edison before we left, and she was in her first year at University of Tennessee. Okay, we got us up to 7th grade. After my 7th grade year, Mom and Dad decided they wanted to move back into town. So we did. And I went to Robertsville Junior High in Oak Ridge. And it's still there, as far as I know, from what other classmates have said. Only it's middle school now. Go figure. And then went to high school, Oak Ridge High School, and yes, I had Dad for class. He was great. He was fun. Dad loved to play with toys to get the point across all the time. So he had trains, he had slinkies, he had daisy rifles that would shoot spit wads across the room. He had all kinds of things. So anyway, but one of my classmates was wondering if I would call him Daddy-O, and I going, I'm not calling him nothing, to tell you the truth. I was kind of trying to hide, frankly. Okay, graduate, okay, no, I want to get up to 16, because somewhere in that year, so it would be 1966, Bruce Grable, it's his fault. He came to talk to Mom and Dad about, he was headhunted again to come to Graceland, and they talked, and it must have been a summertime thing. I'm not sure what it was, because I remember going with Mom over to Knoxville to visit with Doris, and one of the kids was there too. So I'm not sure what all was there, but I remember meeting her. Lovely, lovely lady. Okay. But Mom and Dad talked it over. I mean, he had a fabulous job. I mean, yes, Oak Ridge was a fairly wealthy school district. So Dad had a good job there teaching, but also from the beginning, the deal was that he would work Saturdays and summers at Oak Ridge National Labs. So, you know, I'm pretty sure that they had a fairly decent income there. And basically they said, our daughter is still in high school. We don't want to go nowhere. Well, they probably didn't say it that way. Sorry, English teachers. Until she graduates. And I'm thinking, I don't know this for a fact, because they really didn't ask me. But I'm thinking that probably they figured that would put it off. And they'd go find somebody else. No. Because when I graduated then, the call was sort of like, oh, so I know, by my reckoning, your daughter's graduated and blah, blah, blah. So here we came to Lamoni, and yeah, I went to Graceland. I did not want to come to Graceland, I'm sorry. I didn't know Graceland. I'd never heard of the place. It was out of the clear blue nothing. I'm going, what? My sister had started at University of Tennessee. By this time she was married. And my brother had graduated from Clinton High School and gone to University of Tennessee, where he graduated, all this stuff. I wanted to go to UT. It was good enough for them, it was good enough for me, you know. And I didn't know what I wanted to do anyway, truth be told. And Mom sat me down and said, "You are going to Graceland for a year." And I know it had to do with the tuition benefit, stuff like that. After that, if you want to go somewhere else, we'll figure it out. Well, you know, you're here and you get to go on and you're being with people, and that's the end of it. So, yes, I graduated from Graceland in '72. And somewhere along that line, I met that guy. He was kind of cute, you know. And we were both in the science building. So, anyway, we were married in 1973, August of '73. And I don't know, where do you want me to go after that?
When did you start dating him? Do you know what year, how long you dated?
We were in the same building the whole time. I think it was one big fat date. I mean, we were in labs together all the time.
Same year?
I don't know.
Were you the same year, Ann?
Yes,
Same year?
yes, yes, we graduated together. He got me through, it was
Quantitative analysis.
quantitative analysis.
Yeah, yeah.
I can think who the teacher would have been.
It was Bob Ramsey, bless his heart. This guy is an overachieving so-and-so. I would have been happy to pass the class. I had to have it because I was a biology major, and you had to take so much chemistry, and it was like, chemistry's your minor anyway. You can't get out of it. And he was determined that I was going to make a really good grade. So he made me go over formulas until I was purple in the face. But I made a B. And I was very happy. Of course, he made A's.
Okay, so then after you're married and you've graduated, now what?
Okay, we went to, well, he went on, because we had a year before we got married, but we went on to the West Coast. He had already been at Washington State University in graduate studies, and then, I'm trying to get we were there 1 year together. Yeah, okay, after we were married. And then he decided to go into something medical and ended up choosing optometry. Are there any dentists around? He says, I do not want to look at people's mouths for the rest of my life. So we ended up going to Forest Grove, Oregon. Lovely place, lovely part of the country. Oh my gosh, fruit galore, and we loved every bit of it. And a lovely congregation there, I might add, that just swallowed us up. So he went to optometry school at Pacific University College of Optometry and graduated in '78. And then, you know, it's like, where are you going to go now? And it's kind of a God thing, because we ended up here. We didn't have intentions to end up here, but Lowell Davis found out from something, somewhere, and he decided that Lamoni needed an optometrist. And so he did talk about concierge work. Oh my word, he did he got us an apartment set up, he got everything set up. And so we came here, and we've been here ever since.
Now, was your parents teaching here then too?
Yeah, well, okay, I'm trying to think of the time frame. Dad taught, and he retired. They went to Oklahoma to stay and live there for a bit. And then Graceland got a hold of him again. And they said they needed him for 1 year. It was him and Chuck Emsley too.
Okay, yeah.
Needed him for 1 year. 1 year. Until they found a permanent substitute. Well, one turned into 3. So, and he was teaching physical science here. So, yeah, and Mom was on the campus in the dining hall. She went to work there and took tickets and did all kinds of other stuff that they threw her way. And what was the question?
What, just what you did after you graduated. So now talk a little bit about your journey of faith.
Oh, okay. That's an interesting one for me. During the time that, in the winter that I was 8 years old, and we were living out in Claxton, I got a horrible case. I'm sorry I'm not looking at everybody, but the memories, I'm trying to get everything straight. I got a horrible case of tonsillitis, which blew into my ears like crazy. Excuse me, pardon me, but nasty gunk flowing out my ears. Pain that I still remember. I remember Mom holding me and in a rocking chair, I'm thinking it was, and rocking me, but she had one side of my head against her chest and the other, her hand over my other ear, because they were both killing me. And just to warmth, you know, until we could get to the doctor, and I remember that. It was not fun. So I needed to have what they called a TNA at the time, tonsillectomy, adenoids too. I'm looking at Pat, she gets it. Went into Oak Ridge Hospital, and the funny thing is that you remember things, weird things. Looking out the window, it was snowing. How rude. I couldn't get out there, and I gotta tell you, in Tennessee, East Tennessee, it doesn't snow that often. And it's like, Anyway, so they got me bundled up, they took me into surgery for the TNA, and the next thing I know, I woke up, and I was fine, you know, oh, this is cool, you know, this is great. But my mother had a really, really frantic, worried look on her face, and I thought, you know, I don't know. But I had something I wanted to tell her, because while I was out, I had a dream. And I've always been told you don't dream under anesthetic. So you can take it the way you want to. I know which way I took it. I was on this hill, green grass, kind of like a levee, you know. I just remember it being kind of straight. And down in this flat area down here was a playground with lots of children playing, having fun, just having a wonderful time. There was somebody standing next to me. I could not see face or anything like that, but there was somebody. You know, I just kind of remember a long robish looking thing. And we did not talk, but I felt like there was some kind of communication, because I was meant to understand that I was not going to go down there and play with those children. And I woke up. I know how I take that, like I said. And then the other thing that began right connected with that, that was in my 8th year of course. I turned 9 in June, and I had not been baptized yet, because Tennessee was, quote unquote, I never did like this, unorganized territory as far as the church was concerned. I just felt that was rude when I got old enough to think about it. Anyway, so I had not been baptized. And Mom and Dad made arrangements, and they decided to come back to Tulsa. Well, all of our family, grandparents and stuff were back this way. And so I was going to be baptized. I want to guess it might have been Children's Sunday because I wasn't the only one there. I was baptized in Turley Branch. And why I was not baptized in Tulsa Central, I don't know, because that's where I remember going as when we lived there. Anyway, baptized by a man who I called Uncle Warren Jackson. He was not my uncle, but the families were very, very close, and so it was aunt and uncle that way. And the thing that I was worried about, even before we went to Turley, went back there, because of my ears, my doctor had always told me, do not let anyone, and he talked to me, you know, as a little funky 8-year-old, do not let anyone put liquid in your ears, ever. And so I like to swim, and especially in lakes. So, and swim caps don't keep water out of your ears. So I learned how to use earplugs. And I had no baptismal training, you know, no baptismal class or anything like that, just what Mom and Dad would talk about. But I knew I was going underwater. So I went to my mom one time and I said, can I wear my earplugs when I'm baptized? And she looked at me, she laughed because she didn't get it. She laughed and she said, oh no, of course not. And I really was worried. I realized I did not really know anything about prayer, but this is a good thing for people to understand about prayer. You don't have to know about prayer to be praying. And I was worried about that. I really, really was. And so anyway, we step into the font, and the time is coming, and Uncle Warren, he, you know, put a cloth over my face and told me what to do, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And he dunked me down and came back up. I was dry on my head.
Wow.
I wasn't, but I never felt water in any of this area of my head. It felt dry. There was no rushing into my ears. My face felt dry. My hair felt dry. I was sopping wet, but that is what I felt. And I had never forgotten that. I couldn't remember diddly about my confirmation, but I remember that baptism. So I guess that was probably the biggest start of the whole routine. And I have always felt the presence of God, even when I didn't want to. Seriously, I mean, it's like dating and having your parents in the back seat when you don't want it. But I have always, and I've even thought about this, and there have been a couple of times, maybe one or two, when I thought that God wasn't there, or it just didn't seem right. There was something not going on. But I realized finally that apparently I was the one who had accidentally hit the off button. And when I realized that it was not God, that it was me, there it was again. And I felt it, and I have always felt it, and I'm getting chisels right now. But yeah, and I was surprised as an adult to say that one time in a service, and a person came over to me afterwards and said, I envy you. I had never felt that. And I went, whoa, because this was somebody, a church member, very respected, and I thought, wow, okay, I guess, I just thought, well, doesn't everybody? Well, apparently not. I don't know, but I have been excruciatingly blessed with that knowledge. It's there, and I can't go into a whole bunch of other stuff because there are too many experiences.
How have your views of God changed throughout your life?
I don't know that change is the right word. Maybe grown.
Okay.
Such a clueless child, and I know there are those people out there, some among us here, who say, "Dear, you haven't changed." But, a lot of things I just never really thought about. But yes, especially as I've gotten older, Howie Booth had me in class. Poor baby. He suffered. It was very interesting. No, but that's one person who made me think about this stuff. I remember vividly writing my paper and getting it back. And I got a good grade on it. I must have written it right, okay, I don't know. But the one thing he said was, I think you need to, it was something like, I think you need to think about your own experience, because what I'm hearing is your mother and your father. It was just something like that. That made me mad. I was furious, because, excuse me, please, I'm supposed to be an adult, and I know what I think. He was right. He was right. And as I've gotten older and different, experiences come along which make you have to think about it. So, I guess one of my favorite things is the Orion Nebula. And the reason why is because it's a star nursery. Stars are born in there. Now, they're born in every other nebula too, but for some reason I attach to the Orion Nebula. But somehow I connect that with a sense of Creator, with a sense of God. So that's kind of one thing that has grown. Yeah. There's a whole lot more, but I don't know.
Tell me a little bit about, okay, so you're back in Lamoni, you're established, you have children, you haven't talked about your children
yeah,
at
that's
all.
right. Oh boy, what is that?
It was 1-3.
Well, it is quite the thing, because I am apparently, or was it then, and I'm not anything now, thank goodness, but incredibly infertile. And because we started trying to have children even before we left Oregon. Bleh. Nothing. And so, okay, she was born in 81. You may have to correct me on dates and stuff. Probably somewhere around in 1980 or 79 maybe, that we started looking into adoption. 80, okay. I figured it was pretty close there. And bless his heart, oh, this man has put up with so much garbage, let me tell you. He came back here as a fully accredited optometrist right after Iowa had cleared the drug laws. In other words, he could do diagnostic drugs. He had already had this back in Oregon. He had to take it again. And he had to drive up to Ankeny? Okay. Like how many weekends? I don't remember. It was
14 weekends in a row.
yeah. And this poor man, and we didn't have diddly squat. I mean, we came with a little bit of a savings account, because I am a saver. But I'm telling you, we didn't have squat for money. So you slept in the back of the truck, didn't you? That's what I thought. And he went to a rest stop to shave and clean up before he went to class.
Wow.
And so he was having to do that, going back and forth. And we've started this issue of adoption. I don't know if anybody else here has ever gone through that. And I don't know what it is now. But there's a lot of paperwork and junk you have to fill out. So he comes home to this crazy wife who says, okay, we gotta sit down and tell our stories on paper and send it to him, and he's just gonna, because he's got all of this stuff, and he has to pass it. I mean, I had no problems, I think that's why he's gonna pass it, he passes everything. But, so we're doing this, and had a lovely, lovely lady who was the Iowa person. I don't remember her name. She was a cute little short gal, came to our home and just talked to us about general things. She was a sweetheart. But we went through the church
Okay.
agency. I do not know if that is still functioning now or
No.
not. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I'm trying to remember her name. Who was our person in that?
You went to school with
Jackie.
Jackie.
Yeah, but I can't remember her last name now. It was Jackie Gray.
Mm.
But it was, anyway, boy, would she help. Oh, boy. So, anyway, we got this adorable little squirmy thing. We knew about her shortly after she was born. Well, we had to wait for a while. April, I think it was. Her birthday is March 1st. Excuse me. And we had to wait for a little while because she was, we've concluded finally, particularly after older things that she had medically happened, that she had to have been a bit of a preemie. She was like 4 pounds and something. She went back up to 5 pounds, but they would not let her out, of course, until she was older. And we couldn't know about all that. She was pegged for us, but we knew nothing about it. We got told about this later. So then she went to a foster care, baby foster care home in Independence, lovely people. And anyway, yes, skip all the periphery stuff. I'm trying to think of when it was sometime in April, I want to say the latter part of April, that we went before the judge with her. Oh, but before that, I got a phone call. He's working. I'm at home doing who knows what. I got a phone call, you have a baby girl.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just going. We were living down in the apartments next to the car wash. And I go screaming up the hill. I think I rode my bicycle up the hill. That tells you how much adrenaline there was. Because his office was on Linden at the time. I go running into the office, zip right past, was it Mary Lou who was working? Because Mary Lou Hartwig worked for us for quite a while. Screaming past Mary Lou, go running into the frame room in which there was this sweet little lady. Can you give me a drink of water, please? It's getting, it's okay. And she was that when the Hmong were here? Was she Hmong? Huh? Laotian, okay. Sweet little Laotian lady. She was not young. But I go running in, and he's looking up and going, what? I'm going, we have a baby, we have a baby, we have a baby. And this lady's going, she did not understand what. Thank you, dear. And she's looking at me, and I went, and she went, and I thought in her eyes I could see, so what? You know, so anyway, yes, we went up there, and Mom and Dad were with us when we were able to go up there this time. I don't know where they were at. Maybe they were in Tulsa. I don't know. I can't remember all of they moved around a lot. Anyway, yes, we got our daughter, and I remember when we first found out, we went up there one time and talked, and then we had to go we were in a restaurant of some sort and talking about what we're going to name this kid. And I had about 6 girl names picked out previously and 1 boy name. And so that's when we chose Lacey and brought her home. Oh my goodness, that was quite the... I was such a nervous mother. I was scared to death to take her outside because she would cry and then people would go,
You don't know what you're doing, do you?
exactly, that's what it was. That's what it was. Yeah, kind of, yeah, there was some baggage about that, a little bit. But names. Sharon, Hannah, they happened to be here at that time. And she saw me downtown. 2 people were really cool. She saw me downtown and she came across the street and she cooed over Lacey and cuddled over Lacey. And she didn't cry all the time, folks. It was just, you know, at the times you didn't want them to, like in church. Just things like that. And she cooed over and she talked to her and she told me all about her story too. And it was so comforting. It was so wonderful. And we had one of those rip snorting hailstorms too around that time. And yes, he's always had a pickup. Pickup got battered a little bit. I mean, whatever. But Ralph Damon was our insurance guy. And of course they lived up in the house now that Everett's are in. So I walked up there with her and went inside and Ralph made over her like crazy. Just, she's so sweet, she's so good. And that really helped to calm me down and to realize that this is good. This is really good, except that he will tell you that there were a number of times he walked in the door after work and I said, "Here." I gotta tell you, I've had without hormones and with hormones, and you need hormones to have babies. It's much easier. But anyway, yes, so we had her, and she was just such a little squirt. Yeah, she was just a little squirt. Man, that kid has always had lungs, though. She could yell, still can. So then her birthday was in March. So she was coming around to about a year old. I remember thinking about this in the winter and thinking, you know, it takes a while to get this business done, and we wanted another child. We both agreed with that, didn't we? I think we did.
You told me I did.
Well, sometimes, you know.
I gotta do what you gotta do.
And I said, you know, if we're going to start this, we need to start this business now, because I didn't want them too terribly
Right.
spread apart. I didn't want them right next to each other either, but, you know, a couple of years, 3 years, that would be great. And at the same time, something kicked in and said, why don't we try this pregnancy thing one more time? I mean, I'd been through all kinds of tests and crud like that. That's a nuisance. Bleh. Anyway, and he said, okay. So, went to the doctor, got pills, which I told him, do you get litters with these pills? Well, come on.
Yes. Fair question.
And he said, no. And I said, that's good, because if it's more than 2, you're getting the rest of them. I'm not doing this. Anyway, so it was probably around, so, you know, then you have to do all of the, it's misery. You have to do all of the temperature garbage and stuff like that, and write things down in a book and whatnot. It's so much fun. And Mom and Dad had moved to Michigan at that time. They were the caretakers of Manitou reunion grounds in Michigan. And so we went up there to Michigan, and Lacey was just toddling. She wasn't quite walking by herself, was she? But she was toddling pretty good. We get out of the car, and it didn't take Mom very long. I think all y'all, you don't. I think all y'all, well, maybe not that one back there, knew my mom.
Yeah,
You maybe didn't.
yeah.
But she pretty well spit out her words, pretty much. And she said, "Are you pregnant?" And I said, "Not that I know of." Because by this time, every time you have a period, it's like, and she just kind of looked at me like that. And I knew that I had a doctor's appointment shortly after Thanksgiving to go in and have yet another checkup and endometrial biopsy.
Were you doing all this here or in Des Moines?
Here,
Oh, here.
yeah, Decatur, over there. So anyway, you know, we had a good Thanksgiving, family was there, we had a good time. Sidestep, just briefly, I'm running out so much time here. Sidestep, we were the ones that managed to burn down the lodge at Manitou. 1980. We woke up in our room, and you gotta come, the lodge is burning, and we're going, what? Fellas and gentlemen and ladies, we did a good job. That thing just took the piano, took several chairs, took the tractor. What had happened is we had Thanksgiving dinner in the lodge. They thought that would be really cool. So my brother and Rick went to light a fire in the fireplace. It was clean, quote, unquote. And they went to light, it was fine. We put it out, they doused it with water, the whole 9 yards after we were done. What we found out later was when they had built that lodge, I don't know who the engineer was, they had put a post that large through the middle of, the chimney.
Oh, my goodness.
And being that old,
It's dry.
it was dry, and it got sparking up there, but it went to just, you know, cinders simmering along until finally it caught good.
Oh, my
And it was
goodness.
old wood on this building, and it just went up like crazy. There was somebody across the lake who called up the fire department because he could see the flames shooting up
Oh, my
so high.
goodness. Oh,
And
my.
and my mom, they had a whole pile of metal bunks that were in the basement of this thing. And they didn't get burned up at all. And my mom, bless her heart, she's sitting there, she's crying because she feels so bad about this whole thing. She says, oh, I can't say the words, can I? And the darn bunks are still there. So anyway, yeah. So we were the ones.
So now you had Lacey then, or you didn't have Lacey
We
yet?
had Lacey.
You had
She
Lacey.
she was
Okay.
not quite a year old.
Okay, so she was
No,
toddling.
wait a minute.
2 years.
2 years. She's not quite. Yeah, she was about a year and a half. Year and a half old. Well, okay, come home.
Okay.
Go to the doctor, and he's looking at my chart, and he's saying, "Oh, I don't think we'll do that biopsy today." And all I could think of was, "Thank goodness." I'm sorry, guys and gals, if you've never had it done, it's not fun. Anyway, so yes, and waited still for a little bit, but yes, that's when it happened. And he was born July 21st, 83. That sound right? I haven't got the, yeah, that's right, but we kind of, oh yeah, you gotta put 9 months in there, don't you? I don't know what it was. Anyway, so, yeah, 82 to 83, okay. And that was the easiest thing in the world. And I had to have C-section because the little booger is stubborn. He always was, he still is. He was Frank Breach.
Oh,
And
gosh.
then my doctor said, no, I don't like to deliver. I can, but he said, you lose a lot of IQ points when you do that. That was his opinion. So I had a C-section. It was actually, Amy Sherman was one of my nurses.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. And Pam Combs was my roommate to begin with because she had Kelsey the same
Yes,
day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyway, and I had absolutely no trouble. It was, like I said, hormones are wonders. They prepare you so well, or at least to me it did. So that's when he was born. Now they're 43 and he'll be 41 in July.
And where are they?
Okay, Lacey is in, actually West Des Moines. She works for Wells Fargo Mortgage.
Okay.
2 years ago, she had just moved into a new apartment with her housemate, Helena Micah, who they had known each other for a couple of years and really glommed together good to be friends. And she got notice that she was being laid off.
Oh,
Wells Fargo laid off like about
they did.
200 some people.
That-
But she was still being paid because they still had a timeline and they still had stuff they had to finish. She worked with loans. I don't know what she did, but she worked with loans. And they still had a bunch of those to go through, so they still had to be working. She was almost done with that, going crazy with doing nothing but sitting at her computer all day long, watching TV or reading a book, probably mostly reading a book, and punching the computer every now and then, because even though she wasn't working, she had to let them know that she was
Still there.
still there. Yeah. 8 hours.
Oh, my.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden she got a phone call, said, hey, we've got a position open. Would you like to take it? And she did. And it's been lovely. In fact, just last 2 weeks ago or something like that, she called up and said, guess what? She had been promoted, huge promotion. She still is called a team lead, which is really a amorphous something or other, and means a lot of things, but mostly it means like if anything goes wrong, you're going to get the blame.
Yeah, there you go.
She got a huge raise, huge bonuses, and going from hourly to salary.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that's been really cool. And we weren't here last Sunday because her housemate, Helena, had been working for the last year and a half, 2 years on her doctorate.
Oh, wow.
She is the assistant,
Director,
yeah, I got, that's the other D word. The assistant director of diversity and,
Equity and inclusion.
no, M. Diversity and, I should have written that down too. I always forget it. Anyway, that's what she does, and at Des Moines University. So she's taking care of the, medical doctors being trained there.
Ah,
That's going to drive me crazy here. I'll probably spit it out in a minute.
middle church.
Yeah, I know what it is. I know what it is. Anyway, she got her doctorate, and so we were up there for the graduation, and in the
Wonderful.
process, we got to meet her parents and her aunts, and it was just a lovely,
Oh,
lovely
nice.
day. And she has become our daughter too, and she's just a sweetheart, smart. Oh, they're both smart, but anyway, okay. Drew is in Ames, back at Ames.
Okay.
They've kind of done the going where the job is routine for a little bit, but they are back in Ames now. They've been in Ames for a year, and he works for, down at Pelham,
Vermeer,
and everything is disappearing.
Vermeer.
Yeah. He is a mechanical engineer for Vermeer,
Okay.
and he works at home, so he doesn't have to go there, but anywhere but a little bit, which is, he likes it. Actually, Lacey does most of her work at home too, and she loves it, which was a surprise to her and us, because she is such a people person. When they first started, bless you, working at home, she was afraid that she would really miss, she loves people, loves being with people during the pandemic. But as long she went with doing that, the better it got. Having to just wear your sweats to work, I think was the kicker. So they have, Drew and Kelsey have a daughter, our granddaughter. Her name is Jasmine Eden, and she is 6 years old. She just turned 6 on the 2nd, and she is so her father's daughter. She looks like him. She talks like him. She acts like him. All of that stuff can be dangerous at times. She pretty much follows Daddy. Loves Mama dearly. And boy, is she Daddy's girl. Oh God, ooh, it's kind of scary.
Tell me what you, oh, go
Benita
ahead.
had a question.
I remember your mother. Now, I didn't see her a lot, but I thought she was so funny. She just joked all the time.
Yes.
When you were around her.
Yes,
So clever.
she was very, and much smarter than she gave herself credit for. Seriously. But that was also a problem, bane to her existence, because she said, you know, when I die, nobody's going to ever remember. They're going to think I was a clown the whole time, and never had a serious thought in my mind. You know.
I take it all.
No, you're right. She was the most fun. She could make fun. I don't mean make fun of people. I mean, she made fun.
Yes, she
We-
did.
Enjoy being around her.
Yes, we had a great time as kids, or I did at least. The others were kind of gone, but yeah. She always had something.
Ann, I missed that, I was outside. Who is your mother?
Irene Shepherd.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure.
Yeah, your mommy and daddy knew them very well.
Right.
Yes.
They loved them very well too. I mean, my mommy and daddy loved your mommy and daddy very well. So, okay, that's kids.
So what do you do? What fulfills you now?
As little as possible. I'm such a lazy poop. Well, okay, I'm a knitter. I love knitting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No. And I learned how to knit when I was 9 years old.
Really?
Mom had a knit shop. This was one of her things. When we lived in Claxton, she had a knitting shop, and she taught knitting, and she did knitting for people, and she sold yarn and needles
Oh, I had
and
no
things like
idea.
that. She did knitting for people until one time she was finishing at like at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning this sweater that had to be done, and Dad counted up the hours and figured out the pay and said, "You're not doing this anymore." He says, "You've earned about 2 cents an hour," and he just, that was it with that. But yeah, she had knitting classes, so I learned how to knit. I was so obnoxious. Because it was really easy for me. I don't know why, but it was something really easy. But every time she would have a knitting class at the house, I'd come from wherever I was and I'd plop down with my needles. And I hadn't knitted for like days, you know, but I would sit down there. I was showing off until she told me, "You
Enough.
are gone." Yeah. Oh, man. But as I got older, when I was in high school, I picked it up more and did a couple of major things then. And as I've gotten older, then, got
I
into
know
it.
you've done a lot of sweaters.
Yeah. My mommy made this one for me.
Oh,
That's
did
why I
she?
wore it today.
Really? Oh,
Yes,
nice.
decades ago. This one.
So I have,
Yeah.
this may not be a question that you would like to respond to, but
I always remember when Polly was killed,
Yes,
your sister,
yes.
and how you responded to that.
Oh,
Do you want to say anything about that?
yes, I will be happy to. The tears may come, but that's okay. Yeah, I got this phone call from Mark Easter. Is he here today yet? No. Oh, bless his heart. I felt so bad because, well, I'll tell you why. Because he called me and I was still working for the library. And he was working down at Walmart. And so it was, it was evening-ish. And he called me and he said, "Hi, this is Mark Easter." "Oh, hi, how you doing?" He says, "Well, I'm calling as an ME. It went right over my head." I said, "Oh, okay." And he said, "Our Paula is gone." And I went, "What?" He said, "Our Paula is gone." And I said, "Confession's good for the soul, people. I need to confess this. I felt bad about it for so long." I said, "Mark, if you're kidding, I'm going to kill you." Stupid. And I know that he felt really, really bad that he had, but he came and got me. And that was rough. Oh boy, was that rough. And he took me down, and she was in the street. My brother kept saying, "Mom told you not to play in the street." And so, yes, I got to see her. They had a blanket over her, and I got to see her and talking nonsense to her. And suddenly, it was a voice. And it was a male voice. But it was a voice that said, "They need to take her now. She's fine. You need to go talk to Bob." And I said, "Oh, okay." And I jumped up. First person I saw, I think, was Denise Elifson. We were very close from being first responders together. And I said, "Where's Bob?" And she said, "Oh, he's back there in the car." The next face that was right in front of me, bless her heart, was Kathy Shields, with Kurt standing right behind her. And they both Kurt just looked like he could die right there. And she grabbed me and hugged me and said, "He's got heart problems. He's got heart problems." And I thought, okay, I'm sorry about that, but it just didn't click with me. I said, okay. And I went to him. All I wanted to do was see if he was okay. I really did. I had no other reason, but the voice told me, "You need to see Bob." Well, I went to see Bob. And he was sitting in the car, and he was in such distress, as you can imagine. And we chatted for a minute, and he just apologized, and I said, "I'm so sorry it happened to you." Because basically it did. It was a horrible accident that happened to two people, one of whom died immediately, the other died 2 years later. That's all it was. It was just, okay, she had on dark jeans. She had on a dark turtleneck. She had roughly, you know what she looked like, not quite totally black hair, but it was pretty dark. And she went across the road to get the mail, and she was on her way back from getting the mail. She always checked that road multiple times. And she came back, and something, I don't know what happened. We still don't know why she was coming back. And if you look, because trust me, we did look. If you look at that street in dusk, because this was in February, the light cones come down like this and this, and the path to her mailbox was between them, in the dark, in the darker part. And if you are driving on, it's on Highway 69, going out of town. Some people that don't know. If you're driving on there, and at that time of night, and you look, and your lights are tipped up a little bit, and then they tip down, because there's kind of a little hill there, and we conclude, I don't think he could see her at all, and it wasn't his fault. It was her fault. Come on, You know it was. I'm going to get argued with here. And yeah, and he hit something and thought it was a deer. And he stopped immediately and he got out to see and went up and walked and saw it was a person. He immediately tried, it was to look down the road either way to flag people down. Oh my gosh, we're going too long. To flag people, but you asked. To flag people down. And lo and behold, it was the off-duty police chief was the person who came by. Yeah. So anyway, that's enough.
I always remember you saying to her, "You goose." You said, "You goose." I just always remember.
Did I? Like I said, there was a lot of blather.
It was a loving expression of, you know, what had happened, and that she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Yeah.
Just simply, yeah. Pat?
We would go down to knitting down at her house, and it's only a couple of doors from me.
Yeah.
And every time, are you sure you want to walk? I never would cross the street. I was always almost in a ditch walking back, but it is he didn't see her.
No,
Just
he
couldn't
didn't.
have seen her.
He didn't.
And it's one of those, and people are going fast, the speed limit. I can't tell you how many beloved pets have lost.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, she had one cat who insisted on laying on the white line in the middle of the road. She didn't die from that, but, he was going to supper. That was his usual thing, to go to supper down in Eagleville. And he would not go that way. He didn't go that way ever until he died. Yeah. We got together as a family. Of course, I had to call my brother up. I had to call her daughters up. Whew, that's fun. We got together as a family, and I called him up to see if he was home, if he was all right. And Roy happened to be there. Roy and Ellen happened to be there. And we went out as a family to be with him and just visit with him and assure him there was no blame anywhere. Oh, I told the insurance inspector and I said, listen, let's make one thing perfectly clear. There will be no lawsuit here. There is no blame here. And I talked like my mama. So he said, okay. But we went out there and had a lovely time visiting. Very quiet man, very sweet man. And Roy and Ellen, bless their hearts, stayed there. And I was glad they did. And we had a little prayer. And, it's just, there you go. What are you going to do?
An important part of your life.
Ellen.
I just,
Ellen was my sister
Yes.
and Elmer's sister.
I've forgotten
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
that.
just thought it's such an important part of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Ann. I've always admired the way that you handled that. I mean, it was
Oh,
a blessing to the community, honestly.
it really wasn't me.
Well,
It just,
It was all you.
it was you.
Expression of who you are.
Thank you for sharing. Really appreciate it, and appreciate you.
thank you.